Region 4. Lick Creek Bottoms, you might recall last year, David Sams came up here and talked about some new waterfall units that they were working on. Well, they've done it, and so we recommend adding some regulations and some quota hunts, draw hunts on Lick Creek.
John, was that a quota or was that first come, first serve?
This past year,
Uh-huh.
first come, first served.
How did that work out?
Not as good as the year before. Had a lot of, my understanding that the previous year, the hunters kind of worked together with the spots they had, and they'd even get in the same blinds together and hunt. This year, we had more people show up. A lot of them might not be long-term duck hunters, doing a lot of pass shooting and things like that, and messing up more of the blind hunter users. So we're seeing a need to start restricting them to a location so we don't have those people showing up in between where the blinds were.
So you're not going to quota, still be first show up?
Oh,
They're gonna
no, Joy hadn't got, but we are going to have a draw type system for spots on the WMA.
I know East Tennessee duck hunters, and I assumed that's what was going to happen.
Well,
Limited opportunity.
I whispered to Dan, I wondered if they were going to tell me, we told you so.
I was going to, but that was my way of saying it. I think I remember saying last year it wasn't going to work, but that's all right. I didn't say that.
Okay. And this is the last WMA that we have recommendations for. It's North Cumberland. In order to try and alleviate some damage problems with beaver trapping, we recommend having the hunters be directed to certain compartments and keep a log, an annual log. Also, in an effort to boost the growth of this deer herd population, we recommend removing the same as statewide deer season and adding strategic hunts for deer archery, deer muzzleloader, deer gun, and deer young sportsmen.
Would you say that again, please?
In order to give a boost to this deer population on North Cumberland, we're going to take away the statewide deer season and replace it with hunts for all the various weapons and whatnot that are strategically placed in high participation times, just to try to cut back on the overall harvest. In particular, the deer archery season would be from September 26th to October 30th with 1 buck and 1 antlerless. Deer muzzleloader would be from November 7th to 20th with 1 buck, 1 antlerless, but the antlerless would only be during the last 7 days.
You saw my deer in the headlights look, so
Yeah,
unpack
Dan
it
Gibbs,
for
Region
me.
4. Basically, I'll pass this around. You can see this line here is the deer harvest the last 10 years in North Cumberland WMA, and it's been in a steady decline for some time. So we're wanting to do a couple of different things. The area manager, myself, John Mike, our program coordinator, we're wanting, number one, to try to see the deer population grow, and number two, based on desires of people that hunt the area, we'd like to see some regulations that are going to try to protect some bucks, hopefully let them get into the next age class, things we've been talking about today. So as Alan mentioned, things are different from Mississippi River to East Tennessee, and we've spent a lot of time looking at the data, trying to determine what would be our best course of action to achieve these two goals. When you look at the harvest, and I don't have the figures with me today, I can get them for you, but I can tell you very few people kill more than 2 bucks on North Cumberland. So we have to look at it as a way to deal with the first buck they're killing, because that's the only one they're going to kill. So basically what we've done is the archery season, we've gone to a 1 buck and 1 antlerless deer bag limit. Muzzleloader season, they can take 1 buck, and they can also take an antlerless deer the last 7 days. This is to cut down on the number of antlerless deer being killed during muzzleloader season to help that population boost. Gun season, we've split the gun season into two 9-day segments. The first one will be 1 buck. The second segment, they'll be able to take 1 deer either sex, and then the juvenile seasons remain unchanged, same as statewide. So overall, we're looking at a reduction in the number of days and also the bag limits in bucks and does. So the net result over the next few years should be an increase in the population and also an increase in the number of older age bucks being harvested.
I appreciate the explanation. That helps me, and I agree with your reasoning. The thing I would ask Region 4 to do is, this is one of those items that we need to go the extra mile on in communicating with the public.
Right.
Making sure that there's clarity as to why we're doing it. We're doing it for the long term, and it's gonna have to be more than just news releases.
Right.
And I encourage y'all, you've done great at this in the past, but just, I guess, I reinforce the encouragement of let's be creative in how we reach out to the public early.
Right,
so that
we've
there's
already
no
mentioned,
surprises.
we talked about that in our season setting meeting, and, I spoke with the technicians and the staff that works up there and told them, they need to be prepared to answer questions because people are gonna have them. So this sheet of paper I passed out, we're probably gonna put something together very similar to this, maybe in a postcard form or something, explaining what we're gonna do, having the chart. Another thing you see, I just hold it up here, but you see these peaks. That's the peaks when we're getting our harvest right now, so we kept our hunt dates around that area when we know people are showing opening weekends, around Christmas time, things like that. But yeah, we do have plans to be proactive in getting some information out to our users regarding what we're trying to do up there, so.
It probably wouldn't hurt to put that on the OHV, give them a flyer when they get OHV permit for up there or something.
Well, we'll have to talk with John. He's more familiar with how all that goes, but there are some kiosks and things up there that we can probably get some posters on once everything gets taken care of next month, and we definitely want to be proactive because we will get some questions about it.
I have
Yes, sir.
a question. And back to the biology of increasing the deer on the area. I'm sure you've got records of the doe harvest and all. Wouldn't it be better to limit the doe harvest, restrict it down to a low number and leave the bucks alone?
We are restricting the doe harvest, but as far as the bucks, like I said, the secondary goal is to increase the age structure of the bucks being harvested. So in order to do that, we're going to have to do something with our regulation to make people more selective. And since most people are only killing 1 buck, by making them only have to choose, if you look at that sheet of paper, basically each segment, they can only kill 1 buck. So they're gonna have to make a decision the minute they walk out there, what they're willing to kill and be done hunting bucks for that segment. So that's our strategy for making them and encouraging them. I guess the word would be encouraging, not making, but encouraging to be more selective. Now, they can come back out on the second segment of gun and kill a second buck. But if they kill one opening day, they're done till the second segment rolls around.
So it's 2 bucks, but only 1 per segment.
Right. And
What is
whatever
it
the
now?
whatever the statewide limit is, these animals will count towards the statewide limit. If we make them bonus bucks and we reduce the buck limit, then that's just going to attract people up there and defeat the purpose of what we're trying to do. So if the buck limit statewide is 3, then that will be the limit. If it's 2, that will be the limit. But they'll be restricted as to when they can take those 2 or 3 bucks.
Have you seen any correlation with our elk herd as far as in the areas that they're at, that there's been less, are the whitetail moving out? Are they moving away from that area?
I've not heard anybody say anything about that. Have you heard anything, John, regarding that?
Not
No.
affected at all?
We get more interest in the bears up there and how they're impacting the deer and the elk, because, it's going to take time for those animals to fill their niches with the bears moving in to the area. So we get comments on that occasionally.
Well, bears aren't selective for cow elk or whitetail fawns, are they?
I believe fawns are a little bit easier on them.
Do you think that the bear moving in are part of the reason that the whitetail harvest is down?
No, I mean, we're not seeing that many bear on North Cumberland Road. There's still more over in Commissioner Bledsoe's area, around Big South Fork in that area, but we're starting to see a few. Occasionally there'll be one sighted at the elk viewing tower, but there's not a lot up there yet.
How are other predators like coyotes and stuff, are they on the increase? Or?
Just like they're all over the state, they're increasing, and they have their impact on the deer fawns as well. But, you know, the multi-use area probably is as much of an impact as anything with all the ATVs up there, and that's going to impact movement and things like that as well.
So part of the blame you are putting on the other uses that we put in there?
I wouldn't call it blame, I'd say it's another use that has
Factor.
to be incorporated into the decisions we make and where we go. But it does make a difference when you've got that kind of activity going on. I guess most of your hunters, a lot of them will key more on the weekdays versus weekends and things like that. So, thank you.
Questions? Did you have something you'd like to
Just
say?
one quick.
Sure.
John Mike, I'm the Region 4 Wildlife Program Manager. One question directed towards, or not question, but a comment, information for Commissioner Cannon when we're talking about the getting the information out to the public. Part of this recommendation that was also formulated using biological data, on-ground area manager, and also the area manager being Joe Elkins. For the last 2 years, he set up a camper check station at the Caravel exit on opening weekend of muzzleloader season and opening weekend of the gun season, and where Joe's talked to the hunters. This is where part of this recommendation is formulated from. So we have talked to the public, but we will get that information out and try to get some other comments if possible.
And I appreciate that. Y'all have always done an excellent job at reaching out to the public, and I just, on this one, I want to make doubly sure.
I understand.
And
It's a
you
big
do understand
change.
why.
It's a big change.
Thank you, sir.
That concludes my presentation of our recommendations for the WMA proclamation.
We may have a question or two.
Yeah, actually, I think I'm okay. This is just to revisit the question regarding the Purple Heart, and I know they're going to do a bit of homework, but actually understand in 2014, the Department of Defense actually changed its policy to allow PTSD as a criteria for awarding the Purple Heart. So I think we've got the clear goal from the commission and agency. I just wouldn't want to necessarily overcomplicate it, so I'm sure there are going to be several options, but let's not necessarily presume that the previous policy on Purple Heart is still the same. So just wanted to at least give a little information.
Any other questions for Ms. Sweeney?
Yeah, I have a question on the turkey. Do we have any more turkey quota hunts on any of the WMAs? All right,
Besides,
are we consistent? Are all the birds bonus birds, or all the birds count towards your statewide bag limit? Or is there a, I think we ought to be consistent. They ought to be bonus birds or not, because it's very confusing to the hunters. Just my suggestion.
Jim, do you know if those are bonus birds? You're talking about the Region 1 turkey. Right. So on quota hunts, they're usually bonus birds. On a non-quota hunt, they're not a bonus bird, and that's standard.
In general, that is how it has been dealt with, is if it was a quota hunt, we tagged it as a bonus bird. A non-quota would count towards statewide. However, there has been exceptions made. There might be some where it does not play, but in general, it's quota hunts are usually bonus animals. But for consistency's sake, it is not the same across the board. There might be one or two that fall outside that generalization.
Any other questions for Ms. Sweeney? Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, this time we're going to ask Darren Ryder to discuss our manner and means of hunting, of taking, and trapping.
I apologize.
You were leaving like you were through. My apologies.
My apologies, I misled you. And one reason I forgot about this, this is the NWR proc, and right now there's just date adjustments. There's still more conversation that needs to be had with the federal wishes, recommendations on this, so there's more to come. I don't anticipate any big changes, but we'll keep you informed when we know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
for
you.
real.
Get up here, Darren. Please do.
Thank you, Commissioner McMillan. This is the 1506 proclamation, manner and means of taking, trapping, and hunting. And what do I do here? Do y'all have your red line copy by chance? I can go by that. I can throw the red line copy on there, or I've got some changes made. So let me do this. I don't want to do that. If you'll look underneath your red line copy, if you have it handy, or I can go to the red line copy here, but these are the changes for 1506, very small, very for clarification and a little bit of housekeeping. If you look underneath section 1 under legal hunting devices, we would recommend that number 2 be read as, for big game hunting, arrows and bolts must be equipped with sharpened broadheads. For all other game, any points are allowed. This is for clarification for big game hunters and small game hunters, which now it tells the small game hunters they can use field points, blunt points, or judo points. Underneath section 2, underneath prohibited acts, number 7, C, simply put, explosive arrowheads and broadheads are strictly prohibited, is our recommended change in that language. Then if you move to section 6, underneath big game check-in, section or number 1, what we wanted to do is add here for clarification is are gifted to another. That way it handles any gifting of an animal to another while they're in transport. And the other section, other number underneath that section is number 4. In talking with legal, she recommends that these, I would like to strike those first 2 sentences of that paragraph. Well, actually the first sentence and last sentence, because she says it's unnecessary language. It's inferred back into the proclamation as a whole and not that particular section. And those are the changes for proclamation 1506. Any questions?
I have a question, not about the proclamation, but you said something about taxidermy. I see a lot of taxidermy for sale for decorators for houses, whether it's deer and bear and elk and all that. Is that legal in Tennessee?
You can sell the product.
Okay.
You should accompany the documentation. Yes, it's got to go with it. Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Cannon?
Kirk, just a point of clarification. This question came up a couple of weeks ago. I think it was South Cherokee.
Yes, sir.
At one time, we allowed folks who were on a bear hunt and harvested the bear, they were allowed to go back out with a gun to harvest a hog.
Yes, sir.
We had a glitch in the regulations a year ago. We
Yes,
got
sir.
that corrected, I believe.
That is correct.
And so that is no problems there. Is that correct?
We're good to go.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions for Chief Ryder? If not, thank you. That concludes the Wildlife Management Committee's report for today.
Thank you, Chairman McMillan. That concludes the committee meeting for today. Is there any other discussion? Director Carter?
Just in the way of announcement, just to remind you that when the mayor was talking this morning, he was talking about the hospitality area. That's in the hotel itself. I thought some people maybe had confused that. It would be over at the fish fry. Hospitality is actually at the hotel, and there'd be transportation from the hotel to the fish fry.
What area in the hotel?
It's on the back side of the lobby. You would enter you don't have to go through the main lobby. Looking at it, go to the right side, and it's down that walkway.
Okay. Same place it was 2 years ago. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Brother Bill?
I've got one comment, and that is, in the regulations, a young hunter who has hunter safety during the youth hunt has to hunt with an adult. And I've had a couple of parents call me where they've got one son who has hunter safety, one who doesn't, and they're either taxed with the problem of taking both kids to one deer stand or one turkey hunt, or leaving one of them at home if they don't have somebody else to go with them. The next weekend, that person with that youth with a hunter safety card can go out and hunt by himself. So it makes no sense whatsoever for him to have a mentor during the youth hunt when he can hunt next week without a mentor. And I would like the Wildlife Committee to take that under advisement and see if we can't come up with some kind of compromise or something that would allow a parent with more than one child who wants to hunt not to be taxed with picking one or the other. Bottom line is, I think it inhibits youth from hunting because he has to choose one or the other if he doesn't have somebody to take him. Or otherwise, it makes him a lawbreaker if he lets his older son who has hunter safety hunt by himself.
Discuss it. I don't, Cheryl, where's Cheryl? Is that doable? I mean, I know we can discuss it. That's not a code change right off the bat. I don't think it is. I need to think about that. So if I understand you, Commissioner Swan, you want us to discuss the ability of not allowing juveniles by themselves if they're hunter safety certified during the adult season?
Well, no, just the opposite. I think a youth who has hunter safety who's allowed to hunt during the adult season should also be allowed to hunt by himself during the youth season.
Oh, okay, I'm with you. Yeah, I will look at that. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I think it was
You're
mentioned.
talking about for the special youth-only hunt?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, I got you.
That's correct. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to make him have a mentor when he can go out next week and hunt by himself.
Yes, ma'am.
Might I propose that we actually have this on another agenda item? I think it's the end of the day, and I actually have a lot of very strong thoughts about this that I think might be relevant. I didn't vote for the original policy, and so I think that if it's okay, could we maybe ask them to maybe put it on the agenda for the next meeting for discussion? Would that be okay, Commissioner?
I just wanted to get that on record.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Swan and Ms. Woodson. Any other comments from the commission? None? Any comments from the audience? Hearing none, we stand adjourned until tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.